Hello and welcome back to
Oops,
the
can't
Light
hear
'em
you.
Up Lounge.
Can't hear you.
Good evening, good
Welcome.
afternoon, good morning.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, and I am delighted to welcome you all to today's show with our special guests, the founder of the Women's International Cigar Club, Sarah Saunders. Sarah, it is a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for joining us live
Thank
from the
you.
UK. And welcome to our cozy little comfortable lounge. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm trying to decide what to smoke.
What was your final pick then?
Well, I have a 170 anniversary Partagas, which is the cigar that I normally, well, for 2 years, La China rolled these and I gave them out at my party in Havana. And I haven't been to Havana for 2 years, so I was kind of getting nostalgic. But I also have an Oliva 5 Melanio Maduro, which is also because I've been trying to get over my prejudice against box press. So I'm training myself to like the form.
It's going to be interesting to hear about all that and learn about those biases. And I'm curious as to everything that we can come up with over the next hour or so. But Sarah, let me start with this. You're an avid passionata, not solely for cigars, but the finer things in life in general. You're a chef by training. You did all sorts of stellar and fabulous events all across the world. You worked with celebrities and people from all walks of life. But would you say that the love and appreciation for fine food, for hospitality, experiences in general was installed in you from baby days on through the family? Was it something that came naturally to you? Or how did you go on that treasure hunt for those fine experiences?
That's an interesting question. I think it was born out of necessity to begin with. I was brought up in the countryside. I seem to have an increasing number of step brothers and sisters in my life, and in a working countryside family, I guess I ended up doing quite a lot of the cooking. But I've always been interested in agriculture and where our food comes from and foraging. And my kids used to laugh because I'd be taking them to school and I'd suddenly screech on the brakes and I'd pick up some mushroom or some piece of roadkill on the side of the road, and so taught them about not wasting anything and where our food comes from. And so it starts from there, and that is where it starts from. It starts from the ground. And so that's, I guess, in a sense, kind of fast forward, learning through my life. It's a really interesting journey, isn't it? Navigating your own personal tastes, working with what the market wants, what customers like, trying to persuade them to keep their mind open, navigating different trends. But I guess at the end of the day, you learn what, by process of elimination and osmosis, what the best things are, and it's what's best for me is not necessarily good for somebody else. So but I've always been passionate about where our food comes from and not messing around with good ingredients. I'm a slow food chef. I worked with slow food for over 20 years. So biodiversity and those issues are really important to me. I think, I wonder whether in some ways, that appreciation of my appreciation of food and culture of food, it's so embedded in daily life, really, and also in terms of making sure that whatever you are eating, whatever you're drinking, whatever you're consuming is going to be right for that moment. And what I mean by that is that although a lot of people who know me well will say I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to having the best ingredients or whatever, I will have a dirty burger occasionally. You know, it's not. I'm not a food snob, but it's the same with anything. There are days when you just want to have you want to relax, and it's what's comfortable for you, but you've got to make it work for you. And I'm also big on healthy eating too, when I can do. I mean, butter is good for you, by the way. So it's great. You know, that is healthy. Eating butter is healthy. Just in case anyone was worrying.
Sarah, how for you at least, do all these worlds that you were describing, the culinary arts, the finest products with amazing ingredients, culinary hospitality, and the world of cigars, how do they all come together? And why do they seem so closely intermingled and just perfect relatives in one big family of those finer things in life?
Okay, so I hinted at it earlier, and for me, you know, it all starts with the earth, what grows in the earth, and so whether it's tobacco, whether it's you know, vegetables, whether it's meat, whatever it is, it all comes from the earth, and the way we farm, the way we produce the products that we consume is really very, very, very important. It's vital to understanding flavor, to understanding you know, understanding the provenance of the products that we consume is, for me, that's the baseline, that's the foundation where you start. You know, if you don't start with good soil, if we abuse the soil, if we put the wrong products into the soil, we're not going to get a product out of that is going to be pleasurable or good for us in some way. So my experiences of traveling in Cuba led me to understand that the people that I knew in the countryside out in Pinar del Río, the farmers, the custodians of nature, these are people who have become my friends over 20 years. They have such a close connection with the soil and the culture and the ways of farming that I couldn't ignore tobacco. You know, tobacco is such a major part of that agriculture in the area. And we all know that, you know, that region is where the best tobacco is grown in Cuba. And so that's how I learned about the interaction of tobacco with other things that I already knew. So I was working with farmers just as friends to help them to look at quality of produce, diversity of produce, trying to get that into the chefs in different in the restaurants in the local towns, trying to persuade some of my chef friends in Havana to experiment with different recipes. I've worked with students. I've you know, when I go to the Habanos Festival, I would often just go off in the evening and work with some students. And my whole thing was, well, let's create recipes with what you have. And do you know where this came from? So let's go to the little market cart, see what the products are there and work with that. Let's not look outside of where you are. Let's look at where you are and work with that. And by putting flavors and ingredients together from where they came from, is a completely different understanding about how we create good experiences. That informed my knowledge base of tobacco. And I worked with Remy Martin and I worked with various other companies to create events in Havana during the festival, to start to place tobacco in that culinary world, if you like, and to create recipes, to create dishes that would not necessarily pair with cigars, but would sit very comfortably alongside the cigars and the drinks that they were trying to associate with them. So that was a really interesting learning curve for me, really putting the tobacco in the context of the things that I already knew. But I always start from where I am. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I mean, I can be, you know, it's really quite a fun thing, because that's the adventure. That is the adventure for me. It doesn't matter where I am. I went to the opening, for example, we went to the launch of Slow Food in UK. This is some 25 years ago now, up in the Isle of Skye. Beautiful, beautiful place. It's absolutely stunning island. And I'd never actually been up there before, but we celebrated in I did a small dinner for various people, and we went out foraging. I found chanterelle mushrooms. Somebody had given me a very rare apple, which is only grown in that particular area. Somebody else brought to the table some langoustine that they'd managed to get from the local fishermen. Then they presented all these ingredients to me sort of on the table in the kitchen. And we created this dinner, which was, it kind of worked just because all of those things came from that place. Somehow we put those things together, and that's a creative process, which I really enjoy.
I think it's a highly interesting approach and perspective that you describe on the cigar industry, which is not totally different from other opinions and people that we have had on the show, but still with a different focus and with a different background. Your perception of the industry or the product per se, not just the industry from a professional level, but also from a consumer level, it's different, and it gives you a very natural, honest approach, I would say, towards the simple and humble product that is the premium cigar. In retrospect, would you agree, or would you say that your experience in the culinary arts and with slow food has also changed your perception about premium tobacco over the years, and the way you look at the industry now, especially with the current evolutions, the mini boom everybody's referring to? How do you think about that now when you look back at all those years?
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying I now look at it, I now can see the industry. And what I mean by that is, probably up until about 10 years ago, I didn't even really understand. I know this sounds like maybe a bit weird, but I didn't really understand the difference between industry, consumers. I still actually don't make too much of a definition, but I don't use the word industry when I refer to my involvement in cigars, because I see the cigar industry very much as a sort of as the people who are producing, people who are selling the cigars and so on. My involvement in the cigar world was very much from a perspective, as you say, from kind of an appreciation of the culture of cigars and the pleasure of cigars. So I came to the whole world of cigars perhaps in a slightly different way, which is that or maybe not actually in a different way. I don't know. I just really was interested. I was intrigued by the whole thing of smoking cigars to begin with. I mean, this is going back 20 something years. I was stunned in Cuba to see women walking down the street, these incredibly beautiful, very strong women smoking cigars. And I just thought, wow, I want some of that. And then 10 years later, I thought, I'm going to share that. I really want to share what I've discovered with other women. So that's how that happened. But I don't think I really have been engaged in industry or the industry of cigars and understanding the industry of cigars until probably, I would say probably the last 6 to 8 years, actually. I kind of fell into the whole thing really from the point of view of just enjoyment. So I didn't really.
Sarah, I'm sorry if I interrupt you there briefly, but thinking about it now, do you think that was even liberating for you to, if you know what I mean, like?
Totally. I mean, I think it actually gave me, well, I launched I launched the opportunity for discovering the world of cigars just because of my curiosity. And so my curiosity just took me into a place where I then met amazing people who, and the cigar world is so full of some of the most generous and interesting people that I've met in any of the sort of genres of my professional career. And so through the generosity and support of all those people, whether they were people who were, you know, we consider to be, you know, the most serious people in the cigar world, to just kind of like regular people. So it's through that I've developed my interest and my learning and my appreciation. And it's like wine, it's like Armagnac. I worked for the Bureau National d'Armagnac for some time to bring Armagnac to London, or to UK market, and so I worked as a chef with them. And again, through that experience, I learned about the differences in flavors, tastes, terroir, all of those things with Armagnac, and it was the same process. So I guess I am just curious about taste, flavor, provenance, the people that are involved in the whole process, and I kind of just absorb it all and want to be part of it. But I think it's a really interesting thing to think about, where Women's International Cigar Club then kind of fell into the whole arena, because I realized that at some point that I didn't kind of fit at the Havana festivals, at maybe smoking in London. I didn't really feel like there was a natural place for me in that smoking world. And that wasn't necessarily because somebody hadn't kind of invited me, but I just didn't think that, you know, I wasn't an aficionado. I wasn't somebody who already knew a lot. I didn't feel necessarily that I was going to be somebody, although I think that's possibly now, you know, that's changed now for me. At the time, I didn't think I was somebody who would ever take on cigar smoking as something that would be as important as food or some of the drink, you know, wine world or whatever has been to me. But that's developed, and I'm really pleased. I'm really happy that I have developed that, because it's just another string to the musical instrument of enjoyment, really. It's yeah, it's part of it now for me, definitely. It's here to stay.
Sarah, the role of women in the cigar industry is sometimes hotly debated and can be looked at from various different angles. Why does it sometimes feel a bit like a delicate topic to discuss, or difficult to discuss in a calm and candid manner? Because on the one hand, it shouldn't be even, you know, a topic we should be discussing at all, simply because it's self-explanatory and there's no differentiation between male and female smokers anyways, like in all other industries or finer things in life in general. Yet still we sometimes find ourselves in those sort of challenging situations as to how do we go about it? How do we want it to be seen or looked upon? Like, what's your take?
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. I mean, it shouldn't be a tricky topic. I don't feel it's a tricky topic, because why don't I think it's tricky? Because there are all kinds of different women out there. On this, like tonight, there are lots of different women here. We all are different. We're different kinds of women. And actually, you know what? Men and women are different, and any other sexual identity you choose, we are different. And I enjoy celebrating those differences. But there are so many things that we have in common as well. So it's about that space in the conversation that says we are different, things that perhaps we appreciate differently. Women's palates are different, for example, palates, apparently. There are different ways that we appreciate cigars, but there are also lots of similarities. There are differences between women. There are differences, but those differences are things that I think to and to share, because I think that those differences are the learning between us, as opposed to being something that we need to separate. Does that make sense in any way? Does anyone? I mean, I think the topic is difficult for some people because there isn't understanding about why perhaps women need to have a bit more of a platform about why they and how they smoke, and to encourage more women to come into the cigar world. There are still barriers that we need to surmount, that we need to get over to get more women to get involved. There are, look, you know what, there's in every single area of life, and I don't like too much time on that sense. What I'm interested in is if there are women who are keen about smoking cigars, not had to try smoking cigars for one or another, have to make we have possibly can to that entry to this. Not everybody is just doesn't mind just going into a lounge on their own. Not sure I even would have done that right at the beginning, but fortunate enough, friends in some really cool places who welcome me in. Now, if you're a woman who doesn't have, you're likely to want to just put yourself in a public and sit, walk into a lounge on your own. There are a lot of women who would not do that. Why is it difficult? Why is it difficult, Reinhard, for some people to talk about smoking cigars? I know. I don't understand, because it shouldn't be difficult.
Sarah, neither do I, and I don't think it's particularly difficult as well. I think that, as with everything in life, diversity is the spice of life, and us all coming together from different walks of life with different perspectives, experiences, and opinions. It's all about us sitting down with a cigar in hand, sharing the moment, embracing the moment, and celebrating the differences. And I think that's the beauty of it, and that's why I don't see it as an issue, or I don't see it as a challenge whatsoever. As long as we can all accept that different people have different ways to either present themselves, communicate, or go about their smoking pleasures when it comes to cigars, right? And as long as we can be respectful of other people's opinion, then I think we're on to a good way forward, and that's at least how I see it.
I agree. I know people will say to me, "Okay, so Sarah, you don't think about no need to really discuss women in the cigar world because they're accepted." Well, the fact is, Women's International Cigar, there wasn't a place for women actually in the cigar world. I know I started 12 years ago. It's changed since then, but there's still women who don't feel that place. And creating WICC move to make a space. That's really all it was, is make a space for women. Effectively was man's world to allow those women to explore their own journey with cigars. Were some women very quick to move on and develop their interest in their own way independently, and other women prefer to gather under the of WIC and don't communicate and don't socialize outside the environment, and that's fine, because all different. Not all women smoke one cigar. Enough. We're all different, and creating that space for women, I think, was really important. The support of the members of WICC. Men are members of WICC. Don't cost anything currently to either about it. And that's just developed over. I can see a few WICC stalwarts actually on screen, which is great. It's lovely to have them.
And Sarah, by the way, for everybody watching, for all the ladies out there, for all the men out there, if you have any questions, then please make yourselves heard. Put them underneath the Facebook live stream, post them here at the lounge, or raise your hand, and we'll happily bring you in and discuss your questions or your comments and your thoughts as well. So please feel free to join us and chime into the conversation. Sarah, the male-female discussion aside, our dear friend, author Nick Hammond, wrote a most delightful guest post on the Light 'em Up blog recently. And there he mentioned that you might think the world is pulling itself apart with everything that's going on now. Huge discussions wherever you look, no seeming tolerance for other perceptions, other points of views. And at times it seems like the world seems devoid of basic human kindness. Whereas to all of us, the cigar world has always been the entire opposite of it, where we find solace, where we find community, togetherness, and camaraderie. Still, it feels though that, and Nick put this down in his article in more detail, that some cigar smokers, probably people who are new to the industry or new to the hobby of smoking cigars, have brought some of that outside world in without checking those certain habits at the door, as Nick put it. With your experience in the Women's International Cigar Club, and you being an avid cigar smoker for many years, how do you feel about those changes that you have experienced over the years? And do you see now stark differences and contrasts in consumer behavior, the way people experience cigars, what they're expecting from those cigar smoking moments? And just over that course of time, how do you see the evolution of the industry?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think not just from my own experience, as my experience has changed, my perception of other people's is changing too. So perhaps when I was very much more of a social, not a serious smoker, as it were, I'm aware of some of the behaviours, the production, if you like, of the social of cigars, but also and as I learned, I've I guess I have a different overview of things, and I say that noticed whether it's COVID or not, the last 2 years, it's so much for everybody that we the online experience lounge Wednesday, where only I've been together for now, what is it, 18 plus, almost 2 years. Like every day spoke at that different experience. That's a whole to discover is around the world.
Sarah, you're breaking up a little bit. It's probably a Wi-Fi issue, but maybe you can just double check whether your connection is okay, because your audio is a little iffy.
Can you hear?
Sarah, can you still hear me?
Damn. Okay.
Sarah, we might have just lost you there, but let's try to get Sarah back here on the show, or I hope she can still hear me. In the meantime, if any of the other members of the Women's International Cigar Club would like to chime in, join us and share a few of their thoughts, then please be most kindly invited. And hopefully Sarah will be here in a second as well.
Okay, this is awkward. Hi, everyone.
Karen, hi, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for chiming in. It's a pleasure to have you. Maybe whilst we're trying to get Sarah back on the show, would you love to share a little bit of just your experience regarding the Women's International Cigar Club with us, and just your thoughts as to the female cigar smoking community, how you've experienced it?
Well, so I originally met Sarah on Facebook through our Cuba travel rather than over cigars. So we both travel to Cuba a lot. And when lockdown started, she messaged me and was like, do you want to do Zooms? And I was like, okay, what's a Zoom? And you know, we downloaded the app and kind of figured it out, and it grew and grew and grew and grew from the very first week. And I think I've probably missed like 2 in 18 months. And the biggest thing I have to say is Sarah was one of the people who helped save my sanity. I'd like lost my job. I didn't know when I was going to get another one. I'm a fashion designer. No one was buying clothes. The shops weren't open. It was absolutely horrible. And having something to look forward to on a Wednesday like that, because that was the first group I'd joined. I wasn't a member of any other groups. So that was like my first little like walk into, you know, the online cigar Zooming community. So I owe Sarah a big thanks for, you know, introducing me to the online community, and also sort of keeping me slightly sane for about 18 months and being very caring. But there's quite a few people in here that I'm now in other groups with, you know, Cigar Club London, Hi Gav, so Ash Holes, you know, various other groups. And I wouldn't be in those groups if Sarah hadn't kind of like, not nurtured's the wrong word. I'm quite a forthright person, but I wouldn't have looked for them. It wouldn't have entered my head to look for them. I was a solitary smoker before that message saying, do you want to do a Zoom? I literally was a solitary smoker. I smoked by myself alone, thinking I was the only person doing it. So she's made a really big difference to my life, to my social life, to the amount I smoke, to you know, the amount of cigars that, you know, I discover, learn about every day. And that is a big thanks to her. So that's really what I've got to kind of say on it.
Many, many thanks, Karen. Much appreciated. And I believe we have Sarah back with us.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that sounds better. Much better.
I'm sorry, I'm in the depths of Cornwall, and when the weather comes in, it's just everything goes. Sorry.
So hopefully we can have a better.
So you were that. I hope it's crossed. So yeah, where were we?
Well, Sarah, I can tell you in the meantime, Karen jumped in and she was full of praise for the wonderful work that you do, and that you kept her sane during challenging periods in time. And it's greatly appreciated and speaks to just how we're all in this together, and we're trying to, do something for the better and bring people together through the simple and humble product that is the premium cigar. But coming back to your perceptions of the consumers and the industry, how it evolved and changed over the years ever since you started the Women's International Cigar Club. I think that's where we left off before we lost your audio.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to, if I may, I might slightly evolve that topic, which is that I've understood more about what cigar smoking does for people. See more. I've met so many different through, particularly over the last 5 years. Not at the but social networks, and also through cigar smoke world, this crazy competition that Marco Bilic started with, where people smoke cigars slowly. It's not everyone's, but and it brings people into community. And I've an age difference, or young, many more young people involved, and interesting how young people, what it does for them. And from a female perspective, smoking cigars offers a degree of, I'm going to say, allows it, I don't know, that the whole context of smoking cigars gives some people this a sense of confidence, and that was something I noticed right back in when I first went to Cuba and saw women smoking, and more of late, that thing that's important to people. It gives us, and I misunderstood sometimes. I think a lot of people used to be, well, that kind of misses the point. It's not about feeling happy in myself. So I guess it made me feel stronger. So looking at that whole happy, what makes me feel, made me think, and this is slightly taking away from your conversation, your question, right, away into what cigar people do. What does cigar smoking actually make me feel like? How does it make other people feel? That it's a community, but also we do it on our, is it for as those smoking together? I've become quite those different competitions and those different ideas. It's actually something I want to share with at some point. We could talk about it maybe at some point now. But I find yeah, I don't you
Sarah, you're still breaking up quite a bit. I have troubles understanding what you're saying. Is there any chance you could possibly try to get a better spot at the house, or hopefully the skies will clear up in windy and rainy UK, or maybe let's try from a different device. I'm afraid that otherwise our guests probably miss a few super important points. So whilst we're waiting for Sarah, Pandora is here with us as well. Pandora, I don't know if you would like to chime in and share a few thoughts with us. We had a fabulous conversation regarding cigar beverages, spirits, and cocktail combinations during the last international cigar lounge, the Zoom Cigar International Lounge. I was curious if you wanted to chime in and share a few of your experiences with the Women International Cigar Club, and I know that you and Sarah have worked closely together. If you want to chime in, then please be our guest. And whilst we're waiting for Sarah, let's hear some of your best cocktail and cigar pairings.
Sorry, I'm not in my usual location at the moment. Oh,
welcome.
Hi. Thanks for letting me pop on. It's like Karen said, it's been a lifeline in many respects, having Women's International Cigar Club there, being able to connect with everybody, seeing myself as a valid cigar smoker, not just a woman smoking cigars on her own, but being able to have a voice and share my opinions and thoughts on various cigars and pairings. And can you hear me okay?
Yep, we hear you
yeah.
perfectly well.
Sorry. With as far as pairings go, I started off, I guess, the way everybody else has done, you know, having a neat whiskey or having a rum. Then I got into the cocktails, and much like Sarah was saying about combining similar ingredients, you find certain things pair well together, and experimenting with not just a neat spirit, but what else goes with it, and then trying and pairing those with different cigars, because each pairing has its own delights and offers a bit of interest. There are some pairings that I've found have worked really well, but equally there are some pairings that counteract each other. They compete.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something we were talking about, I think it was last week, about cocktails in particular, quite a complex thing, as are cigars. So getting that just right can really lift the experience.
Definitely. Ben, Sisters in Smoke, is here with us as well. And Ben, I know you just had a fabulous cigar and whiskey event most recently. Plus, you host a bunch of incredible cigar smoking events, particularly for women enjoying the smoking pleasures. Would you like to share a few of your thoughts with us as to the topic? and experience hosting those with women in the US.
Hi. um, for me, very much like Sarah in the beginning, I've been smoking for about 12 years now. And that really maybe wasn't a huge place, or I didn't necessarily feel like I belonged anywhere. I smoked with a lot of men, much like a lot of other people here in the US. And in that space, I thought it would be cool to kind of connect with other women. But for me, it was more or less, okay, if I'm going to smoke, who are the women in this industry that are kind of spearheading this experience? You know, the factory makers, the rollers, sales, very regular jobs, but in this space. So during the pandemic, I hosted a couple of Zooms called The Smoky Truth, and kind of got a couple of my industry friends to hop on and kind of create a safe space. Not that we needed permission, but maybe, hey, like there are other people that look like you, smoke like you, new cigars to introduce us to. And it was great. It kind of provided that same safe space that Sarah's provided for WICC. So I host very normal things with the idea of inclusion. You know, here, a lot of women, we don't go to things unless we're invited. And so I wanted to make sure that, yeah, there are things going on, but hey, would you like to come? You know, hey, you should be here. And come and have fellowship and community. And, you know, I'm from the South, so we love a whole family style type experience. And I wanted to create that. I wanted to produce something where I felt welcome and other women could too. And it's been great. I mean, even with the pairing with Dalmore, there were women there. There was a lot of men there too. But I got to invite my friends to do it with me. And I think sometimes that's really important to have. Not that, you know, the conversation, whether or not women should be smoking or why are we smoking and what are you smoking, and it has to be separate, but the inclusion really kind of not saved my life, but it kind of makes it easier to be here. And I enjoy it. I like all the women on here. Some of them I've never met before or didn't have a direct introduction to, but I'm happy to see that you guys are here, and it's like 11 o'clock in the morning in California, and I would be anywhere else because I wanted to know, who is this Sarah lady, you know, and hopefully whenever I travel international, I'll get an opportunity to meet her. Hello? Uh-oh. Is my volume out? Can you hear me, Reinhard?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly fine, then.
Okay.
Hope you can hear me as well. Many thanks for what you just shared with us. I was just trying to see if Sarah is with us now because she logged back on from a different device, I believe. And then we also had a question from Ian, who's here with us at the lounge. So whilst we're trying to get Sarah on, Ian, maybe you want to fire away with your question. And if not Sarah, then I'm sure Ben is very happy to help an assistant chime in to answer that question.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you again. Enjoyed the dinner last.
Guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Hi, how are you? I had a question, as you're a foodie, as am I. If you were doing a VIP dinner for a cigar lover, what would be your menu from soup to nuts, including cigars and wines and whiskey? What would you offer?
Oh, my favorite menu.
Yeah. Including cigars and whiskey and wine.
Okay. So I would start with, you know, I love potted shrimp. This is very, very difficult for me. You do know that, because I love so much. I love all food, and to find one thing is very difficult for me. But I love potted shrimp. And for anybody who doesn't know what potted shrimp are, they're tiny little shrimp in a seasoned butter, which are very common here. For main course, I love fish. I think one of my favorite fish is pargo. Actually, in Cuba, we eat a lot of pargo, red snapper, which is really yummy with lime and potatoes. I learned how to do that in Cuba. But if I was in the UK, you can't beat the lamb down in East Sussex on the Romney Marsh, salt marsh lamb. Absolutely fantastic. And I've been making a lot of, I love Hasselback potatoes. Does anyone know what I mean by Hasselback potatoes? Lots of butter, basically. Really good. What would I serve with that? Some of my dessert wise, I love really traditional fruit-based desserts. I had a really great plum and apple crumble the other day, which I absolutely loved. But I love sorbets. I love Italy is one of my absolute meccas for food. So anything Italian, I adore. I'm really struggling with this because I love so many different things, but I'm going to move on to cigars. So after all of those things, what would I like to smoke? I think probably something, what would I pick out of my humidor right now after that menu? I might actually pick up the cigar, which I haven't managed to smoke, which is this Partagas Lancero, which is so lovely, because that would be a really nice, clean, sweet smoke. Or perhaps, something I smoked recently, which I absolutely adore, is the Numero Uno Diplomatico cigar, which I really loved. I'm very, it's funny, isn't it? I'm very bad at thinking about, hang on a minute, I haven't finished the menu, have I? What would I drink with those things? Well, obviously with the Partagas Lancero, I would drink rum, definitely. And one of my favorite rums is Santiago Once, so Santiago 11, Santiago de Cuba. I also really love I actually really like the Pacto how do you say, is it the Pacto Nave, the recent one from Havana Club,
Pacto Navio, yeah,
which I really like. Their Tributo, oh my god, you can wear Tributo like perfume. It's so yummy, literally. I had the pleasure of doing a pairing with Havana Club and some Davidoff cigars, and we got through the Tributo quite quickly, and there was a little bit left in the bottom of the bottle, and I kept it, and I just literally dabbed a little bit onto my wrists and just smelt it for hours. It was just, it was it's a good top tip actually for keeping that experience, without lowering the bottle too much. Just use it like an eau de cologne. That's what I would have with those things. But I also should have probably started the dinner with a cocktail. And I'm proud to say that Havana Club actually made a cocktail for me and the club once upon a time, which was really lovely, full of my favorite flavors of grapefruit and Campari, and with the Selección de Maestro rum, which is actually, it's a fun cocktail. I must make it again. I haven't made it for a while, but I'll try and find an occasion to share it. It's I'm always interested about eating. When I was in Croatia recently, is one of the few places, going to Belgrade to the events there are so many opportunities to smoke alongside eating, which is not something I'd ever really done before. Before I started learning about cigars, I'd always thought that smoking and food was a really disgusting thing. But now I'm Guilty. I'm guilty as charged of having a cigar next to a plate. But I kind of think of cigar like food rather than smoking. It's not the same thing.
I don't know if Reinhard, I would like to offer my dinner. So I would start with a Padron de Marceau and either a cocktail or a good old fashioned with a rye, Rittenhouse rye. I would have prawns in a butter sauce, probably with a Le Fleuve Montrachet to go with them. That might work. I'd have beef Wellington for my main course with a De Cru 95. Pudding, perhaps Il Flottant, which would be very nice.
Yes, nice.
With a rye sec wine. And to finish, I'd have a sobremesa on Cidro. And I've had a taste of Blanton's Gold, which was just delicious. So I might have that. Or I love Diplomatico rum. So I'd finish with one of those.
When's the invite, Ian?
Well, I'll come to yours. I'll have yours as well.
I was just about to say that sounds like a casual Wednesday, right? You could probably live stream that to the Light 'em Up Lounge and have some people join us right here. Delicious. Unfortunately, I believe we have to switch topic though, because otherwise people will start salivating all over their MacBooks and keyboards and stuff. So, Sarah, let's switch gear a little bit, and I would love for the first time to do sort of a little new segment where we do some rapid fire questions with you, and if possible, you can just answer with either one word or one or two words and give us a very brief answer. So if you're up for that, let's start, and we'll do a few rapid fire questions. Sarah, the glass is always half
full.
Perfect. Tea or coffee for you?
Oh, you can't ask an English person whether they want tea or coffee.
We said one word or two, Sarah.
Oh, no. Tea in the morning, coffee later.
Perfect. Sweets or salty snacks?
Salty, always. Salty.
Okay. Good stuff. Cash or card?
Cash. Can you hear me?
Yes. First cigar at the age of?
39.
YouTube or Spotify?
Spotify.
What cutter do you use?
Whatever I've got.
Blowing rings or not?
I would love to.
What's the capital of Austria?
Vienna.
That's probably a question for the US guys, so I have to confess. Okay, final one. Good cigar or good company?
Oh, do I have to choose? Oh, good cigar. I've got to say that, haven't I? I don't want to
Excellent. Fabulous. Sarah, thank you so much. You survived our little rapid fire here. Let's go back to the tougher ones. What could and should we all do as a cigar community to create more unity and bring the camaraderie back to the cigar smoking community?
Golly, I'm no authority on this. I'll come at this from the perspective of hospitality, which is obviously something that I have been involved in for almost 40 years. And for me, this successful hospitality, good hospitality, is making a space for as many people as you can fit around your table comfortably, and making sure that everybody has something that they are able to, that they feel comfortable to contribute to whatever that gathering is. Now, if you translate that into the cigar world, if there's a space for everybody and everybody is given the opportunity to contribute what they have that is their uniqueness and their skill, then we have a very rich and diverse community that we can all learn from and enjoy. And but it's not just about being tolerant, it's about really genuinely being inclusive. You know, it's about really understanding where different people are coming from. So in the world of women and cigars, there is an interesting situation where you know, some women feel very confident and empowered to present themselves in ways that other women prefer not to. I'm going to be specific here. So I don't feel that I want to. It's not my personality, but I wouldn't want to put myself on social media wearing outfits that quite frankly would look terrible on me anyway. But I mean, I just don't want to be sitting on a motorbike in a bikini. That's not my style. That's not who I am. I've got nothing against a woman who wants to do that. It's just that I want her to present herself as a cigar smoker with real confidence, and not to adopt a narrative that actually is not appropriate for herself, in the false belief that that gives her a position and a strength in the community, in the wider community. So this is all about empowering individuals, and that can be an individual woman or a man or anybody else who identifies as anything else. And I think it's a conversation that's happening worldwide, you know, in other spaces. We're not different to that. So I'm all for inclusion. I would rather make an emphasis on that aspect of things. How do we make that happen for people? Well, so here's an idea that I've actually put forward with the lovely Anastasia Somardi. I can never say her surname properly, but from Sotel, Greece, who is a fabulously dynamic lady. And I will have the pleasure of working alongside her for an initiative that she's put together, which is the Sotel Global Movement, which I know that you'll hear more about in the coming months. But working with Anastasia, she you know, we were chatting the other day, and she actually almost asked me the same question. And I said, you know, what would be great is to have some kind of symbol on retailers' doors, or any other community can adopt that symbol that says, you know, women are welcome. So this has happened in other areas of life where, you know, if you're not quite sure whether if you go into a shop someone can hear you, or whether there's disabled access, or whether there is somebody in that environment that is going to understand who you are, or where you might be coming from. One of the most intimidating things, I think, for a lot of women is to go into a cigar shop. Actually, funnily enough, it's quite an intimidating experience, or indeed a club. And if you have some kind of visual representation at the door that says, actually, we welcome you, before you've even crossed the threshold, that would be a really cool thing. So it's a small detail, but I think that would be something that people might adopt. There are other initiatives. There are lots of other initiatives. I'm big on the whole thing about mental health right now. And I was a practicing homeopath for 13 years, and I saw a lot of people coming in with effectively stress-related pathology. And I know categorically, from not just the anecdotal evidence that I've received, but from in-depth discussions with some of the WICC members and other friends, that smoking cigars contributes to better mental health for many people. And this is a thing that, as I'm kind of like, I'm sorry, Reinhard, I'm mutating your question to something else, but
Please go ahead.
I really would like to drive this this whole idea into a proper scientific study. So I'm throwing this out there to everybody now for the first time publicly, that if you are interested, I would be very interested to receive any kind of stories from people to start the ball rolling with a whole pile of anecdotal evidence that I will then submit to a couple of universities where researchers will make a proper scientific study about the mental health benefits of cigars. The physical harm of cigars has been, that issue has been manipulated by successive regulation authorities. And cigars, as we all know, have been lumped in with other kinds of smoking, which is just, well, it's actually just ignorant, really, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's just ignorance. And I think one of the ways that we might be able to differentiate cigar smoking further, maybe pipe smoking included in this, from other forms of smoking, which are harmful because of the chemicals and so on, is this mental health arena. And I would be really keen to, I want to further that exploration, further that study, and further the work that could be done on behalf of the whole community, really. I think this is another way forward to substantiate the benefits of, or the reasons why we should be allowed to continue doing what we love doing, and it gives us pleasure. So yeah, if anybody's in.
Fabulous idea, Sarah, and a wonderful initiative. And to all of you out there, whoever wants to contribute or support, then please by all means get in touch with Sarah. And this is a fabulous idea that
Thank you.
Whoever wants to contribute to, please go ahead and let's make those voices heard. It's an important.
Yeah, I mean, people's individual stories are valuable, but also, anecdotal evidence can then become scientific evidence. So we have to start somewhere. So let's start with people's stories, how it might have helped everybody. Thank you.
Excellent.
For that support.
there was a question, I believe, from Franca as well for you, Sarah.
Okay. Hi, Franca.
Hey, nice to see you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I couldn't miss this one, Sarah.
Oh, grazie.
Well, sorry, I was very late, so I actually missed the core of the interview. I don't know if I'm repeating anything with my question here, but I heard you now talking about inclusion, how important inclusion is, and I totally agree with you. I also like to think about it in a different way, and I would like to ask you how far you could agree with this. I like to start from the term pleasure, because that's where we want to end up with a cigar, no matter how we consider a cigar, if it's a symbol, if it's for a sensory experience, it's always about pleasure. And we're both fan of a very important organization, which is Slow Food, and that makes that even deeper, I guess. So do you think it might be easier to tackle the message through the term pleasure versus tackling the message through the term inclusion, which means actually asking a lot of people, men mainly, to change some things? And that might not be that easy.
I think it's, firstly, yes, I absolutely share, we do share that interest and passion for slow food, and at the foundation of that is biodiversity, and that happens in nature as well as in the cigar world. And pleasure is, it's a funny thing, isn't it? A lot of cultures perceive pleasure as something that is something to be measured, something that is not, it's not something that we should be pursuing for, a great amount of time. That most of our cultures are driven to work and production, and pleasure is a sort of add-on, really. It's not fundamental to our lives. Going back to my interest and my point about well-being, is that pleasure is fundamental to well-being. We all deserve to have pleasure, and anyone who denies themselves that is on a different kind of trajectory in their life. I think that I'll draw this back to a story, which was a few months ago. I was asked if I'd like to participate in a Zoom event, and I worked with Nick Hammond on this, and it was great fun. And the starting point from that was, how can we get more women involved within that particular event? And my response was, well, we just have to make it fun in a way that women might, a variety of women might want to join in. So it wasn't that we had to do something specific for women. We just had to look at the event and work out which elements of the event were going to be fun, i.e. pleasurable. So that's kind of the way I approached it. In a way, it is kind of how I approach doing most things. It's like, you've got to be, I agree with you, Franca. All I can say is I agree with you. And we have to find more ways of being comfortable with the pleasure of what we do, and being proud of that and share it. Which, in a sense, you'd think we already do, but I don't think we're very good at communicating it, actually, to many people. I think these Zooms help. These Zooms are really good, actually. They do help. Does that kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the wonderful idea of your study, you touched somewhat already. I really look at pleasure in the sensory way of looking at it. So, of course, there's definitely a lot of ways to communicate about it, and Reinhard certainly also can talk a lot about this. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about the approach of the premium cigar as a pleasure element, as a pleasure vehicle, gives women power, because they are the ones who can decide on whether they want to have that pleasure or not.
Mm-hmm.
Living by the rules of what men allow us to, the space that men allow us to take, which is something that I don't like to look at in this way, but unfortunately, I think we have to admit that it is this way. It's probably something that will keep not giving us all the power that we deserve. That's my point.
I absolutely acknowledge that there are, in different jurisdictions and different cultures, different degrees of, what's the word I should use? I'm going to use the word suppression, but I'll qualify that in a second. The suppression of women's involvement or women's welcome into the cigar world. There are so many different, we have to be really careful about using the word men as in a global term of men, because you know what, there are so many different men out there too in different jurisdictions. There are surely men on the extreme who are misogynistic and will go out of their way to exclude women or demean women in a variety of different ways, and the cigar world is no exemption to that. There are cultural differences across the world that imply massive suppression of women in terms of their ability to join in and to participate in smoking cigars. There are places in the world where women have found that actually the way forward is just to simply band together as women and smoke together, because their culture would simply not tolerate an integrated approach to smoking cigars. We have to just embrace all of those different scenarios and support women wherever they find a way of being together with men or women or both, and to have that confidence as individuals to, as you say, Franca, have that power within themselves to take the pleasure from smoking cigars. So ultimately it comes down to the individual and nurturing those individual women. And this goes for men too, young men. I mean, I've met young men too. I have a son who's 20, oh God, what is he, 28 now. I gave him his first cigar when he was 18. He's learned quietly, gently over time to enjoy smoking cigars, no pressure, just by learning. And that's what happens in the cigar community, which I found it took me a long time. I don't regret that at all, because on the way I learned so much. But we have to look after people. We really have to look after people who show an interest and give them every opportunity to learn. Pandora did this great thing recently about some YouTube videos about how to cut your cigar, how to start. And there are a number of other people that have done similar things out there. But Pandora doing this for women particularly is a great thing, because like you, Franca, with your sensory work, it opens all sorts of learning doors that gives us each individual confidence, and that's what we need. We just need that little bit more confidence to feel like we know enough to participate. One of the great things about the cigar world, isn't it, is that you're never going to know it all. I mean, it's just so much to learn.
Excellent comment, Sarah. I couldn't agree more. And especially when it comes to the aspect the new or people who have less experience, to include them, to welcome them, and to have an open conversation amongst everybody. I think that's a wonderful statement and a very important aspect to take away from today's session for all of us, because we all experience that and we all meet people in the lounges, whether it's virtually or physically, that have their first cigar or who probably never had a first cigar before. And we can invite them to this ecosystem and take them along the journey and hopefully help them to grow into cigar loving apasionados that will continue this lifestyle for many years. So I couldn't agree more with what you said, definitely.
I'm just going to jump in there. One of the things that I will never, ever forget in my life was, it wasn't my first cigar ever, because I'd smoked all kinds of different cigars before that. But my first proper cigar, my first really grown-up cigar that I ever smoked, was a gift from Edward Sahakian. And he gave me a Trinidad Lancero, a Fundadores. And this was in Havana some time ago. And I will never forget that, because it was such an amazing cigar. And I thought it was actually such a cool thing. I will always try and give somebody who's not smoked before as good a cigar as I have with me, if I can, because that experience will last with that person for the rest of their life. It informs the rest of their choices, I have this thing of, equating that to the food industry. I've never understood children's menus. I've never understood why children should have different food on a menu to adults. So it's like beginner cigar smokers should always have the best cigars that we could have. It's like, don't go in there with something like, gently. You should just go in with the real thing, is what I was saying.
Sarah, before we come to an end of today's show and before we wrap things up, first of all, I would love to let everybody know that next week we will be talking to Charlie Minato from Half Wheel. So Charlie's going to be on the show and be our special guest of honor next Wednesday, talking to us about his own personal cigar journey as well as the Half Wheel story, and I'm truly looking forward to that. And Sarah, one final question that I would love to ask you is, first of all, what will the future of the WICC hold, and what do you foresee for the next few years when it comes to your personal cigar journey as well as the industry on a larger level? As to, are you bullish? Are you bearish with everything that's going on currently? Where do you see the next couple of years, both for yourself and the Women's International Cigar Club?
Wow. Well, I do have some plans afoot, which unfortunately I can't share with you just yet, but as soon as I have the plans signed off, I will share them with everybody. So that's exciting. That's a new business opportunity with the club. I'm going to continue doing what I've always done, just be here for women. And that sounds simple, but it requires a steady hand at the rudder. I have at times thought, really, am I needed? You know, not me personally, is the club needed? There have been times when I've thought, you know, the cigar world is changing. There are more women, you know, coming, as you know, the face of women is more prominent now. And it was at that point I suddenly thought, no, actually, of course we need to be here. We need to be here even more, because as more and more women come on board, then those women will also need to have a space that is that I actually don't like using the word safe space, because it implies that the rest of the world's dangerous, but it is a special space that includes people who will always be supportive of women in the cigar world. So to find somewhere to start, or to come home to a place that is comfortable, Women's International Cigar Club will always be there. And that's kind of how I feel. It's a home. And that will, yeah, you just need to keep it there. You need to keep that platform there. I'm just going to use this opportunity, if I may, Reinhard, because I'm thinking of a very special dear friend of mine who hasn't been able to smoke a cigar for at least 3 years. He's a very, very unwell person currently, and he's in Belmarsh prison for telling the truth. I was very lucky in my life to have worked with some very interesting people as a chef and as a nutritionist. And for 7 or 8 years, I cooked for and supported for his health Julian Assange whilst he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. And it's not, it's not a lot of, it's not something I talk about very often, but today the case is being heard at the High Court in London, and tomorrow for an extradition to America, where he would face charges and likely be in prison for 175 years in a supermax prison. That would surely kill him if he's not already being kind of assassinated in front of us in Belmarsh prison. He is a cigar smoker. That's kind of why I'm saying this, not because it's important enough in any case to raise the profile of his plight, but he is also a cigar smoker. And I have spent many wonderful evenings talking about extraordinary things around the world, smoking cigars with Julian. And if anybody is so minded to puff a cigar or at least blow out a smoke ring in hope for his this case being overturned, I know he would appreciate it. It would be a mark of solidarity within the community. So I just put that out there as a little request. He's part of my HERF circle, and I share that with other people.
Thank you, Sarah. One final question, also because it came up on Facebook quite a bit. How do people actually join the Women's International Cigar Club?
Oh, well, there are sort of two ways you can. Probably one of the easiest ways is to go via Facebook. You can, if you go onto Facebook, there's a group and there's also a page. And if you can't find that, then just find me, Sarah Saunders, on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram is Women's International Cigar Club, so you can DM me there. Follow us on that, and yeah, I have that. You should be able to get through one way or the other.
We'll make sure that people can find you, that's for sure.
And we'd love to have men and women. Anybody who wants to join us, please do.
Excellent. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to all of you for joining us during this wonderful segment. I'm very much looking forward to next week's show together with all of you and Charlie Minato from Half Wheel. But today, Sarah, again, many thanks for everything that you shared with us. All the very best to you, to WICC, and all your other endeavors. And we will be most definitely in touch and also in support of your various projects and ideas, whatever it is that we can do to help. You know that the Light 'em Up family is your family as well, and we're here for you. So again, many thanks for taking the time and being on the show together with us today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Reinhard, for inviting me, and thank you everyone for well, being here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.